Coming to you from Crash Studios in Music City, USA, Nashville. This is the Rich Redmond Show. On this episode, award-winning guitarist Danny Rader. And now, Rich Redmond.
What is up, rock and rollers? Rich Redmond here. Yep, another episode of the Rich Redmond Show coming to you from Music City, USA. Everyone's coming here for great reason. We love the music business. We love creative types. It's the songwriting capital of the world. Great things happen here every day. As always, Jim McCarthy, ladies and gentlemen.
Yay.
How you doing, man?
I'll give myself that one.
You should.
Okay, enough with that.
At least you didn't give yourself the what.
There we go. At least I know where the buttons are.
So vaudeville. So usually we catch up on current events, but you know, you always remind me to tell our audience, what do we talk about? We always talk about music, motivation, and success. And these are three things that anyone from any walk of life has a story about or is interested in. So our goal is to have you learn something and to laugh in the process.
That is the problem which we solve.
Yes. Well, hey, so I'm so excited. I'm always excited, but very, very excited about having my next friend, my next guest. We've known each other for a long time, since 2005. He's an award-winning recording and touring guitar player, Mr. Danny Rader! Yeah. What's up, bud?
He's used to this kind of reaction.
Some people, yes.
Well,
yes.
We were going down memory lane, and I was like, when did we tour? Because in the early days of Aldean, we recorded Hicktown mid-2004, started touring late 2004. It was just me, Kurt, and Tully, and then we realized it was a heavy load to carry. We needed a little help. We needed another guitar player, and you came on board 2005.
Yes,
right?
Summer of 2005.
I love that you can remember all this.
Don't ask me how.
I have vivid memories of you. We couldn't always get to a gym, but you would load your backpack up with like bricks or heavy things, and you would like do curls.
That's right.
And you had this
I still do that on occasion.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you can't get I like that jacket. Is that a Keith Urban? Did he buy that for you?
He, the stylist brought it out. Yeah.
I love that. So you guys get to keep these things.
We do.
I like
she
that.
She just comes like 2 or 3 times a year and just brings a big bag.
Just
of
loads you up.
for us.
She's got your sizes and everything.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I'm looking at the video feed right now, and it's like, one of these things is not like
No, Jim, I like what you got going on. Your button-up shirt thing is cool.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
like that you have a black undershirt.
Yes, I sleep in them.
It is a different world now because no matter where you go and you're on sessions or on the road or sound checks or whatever, they're always filming. I'm sure it's like this with Aldean.
Yeah, but they're like
always content being collected
in the studio. You know? When we're on Aldean sessions, there's always
anywhere
2 or 3 photographers and videographers. Jim comes and films me. By the way, the new album, Jason Aldean 9, that Danny played anything with a string on it, is out, and we have video content we need to release.
We do.
Talk
so
to your
you were
wife.
there on the floor when I was there.
Yeah.
How did I not meet? I knew.
No, you were there,
busy.
but
You were
everybody's
working.
busy talking about coffee and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So for the last decade, you've been with Keith Urban.
Yes.
Which is a wonderful job. Now look at some of these recording credits: Rodney Atkins, John Party, Michael Ray, Sugarland, Kid Rock, Chesney, Dierks, Big and Rich, Midland, Toby Keith. The list goes on and on. Just look, Danny Rader, allmusic.com or discogs.com. You and I together have recorded on the floor, many of which were at Treasure Isle over in Berry Hill, America. Right. Michael Tyler, Sycamore, Tyler Farr, Aldean, all the Aldean records, Montgomery Gentry, Frankie Ballard, Tyler Rich, Bombshell, the list goes on and on. Alabama.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff. Yeah. And then on the road, while cultivating your career to get to Keith, you toured with LeAnn Rimes, Gretchen Wilson, Carolyn, Dawn Johnson, and Julianne Hough. So you moved here and were immediately gainfully employed.
Just off and running.
Yeah. This is good. Now obviously you have a toolbox so deep. You came with a massive skill set, but was it a mindset thing? Was it a God thing? Was it a prayer thing? Was there a defining moment where you shook one hand and it was off to the races?
I would say all of the above to a certain extent. Because in some ways, one of those aspects might have been propelling things for a while, and then that might seem to kind of slow down, and then something else will happen.
Right.
I learned very early on. I heard somebody say, "You must be present to win," and so I just was like, let's just say yes to everything, just take everything, and
what a great attitude.
Show up and have a great attitude and bring your best to the table and hope that everything else works out.
And very quickly. So you moved here in 2005.
I moved here in 2004.
Moved here in 2004. So you have maybe a couple of months of a transition. You get the Aldean gig. Fast forward, we're looking at 15 and a half years later. You are, how many ACM awards did you win?
3.
So
3 at this point.
2 for the Academy of Country Music Specialty Musician of the Year, and 1 is Guitar Player of the Year.
That is correct.
Now, the guitar player thing, the Musician of the Year many times goes to the guitar player because it's going to go to a Dan Hough or a Tom Bukovac, and all of us, all of the Tully Kennedys and Rich Redmonds of the world, that even if we make it to the second round of voting, it ain't happening. It's not going to a drummer, So that's an amazing accomplishment.
It is. One thing that is very cool about the ACMs as opposed to the CMAs, which they're both super cool in so many different ways. But one thing that is really cool about the ACMs is they have different categories for each chair. So there's a drummer award given out each year, a bass player award given out each year, a guitar player, and then the specialty category just kind of catches fiddle players, steel players, banjo, mandolin, all the other stuff. That's ACM.
Okay, so there's more chances to win.
With the ACM.
With the ACMs.
Yes. And then the CMA just kind of puts them all in the same pot and has Musician of the Year.
So CMA is like, and musician of the year goes to da 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 da, and right back after this commercial break, it's like, Did you watch the Grammys?
I watched most of the highlights this morning. I didn't get to watch them at the time last night, but
that's where I'm at, because I, like many of the millennials, I am not a millennial, but I'm trying to save money like the millennials. I have HBO Go, I have Hulu, I have Amazon Prime, and I have Netflix. Now, if you add that all up, maybe you're looking at $60.
Right.
But it ain't 180.
Nope.
Right.
So I can't. So now here's the one drawback of not having real television.
You've cut the cord.
Macy's Day Parade, Thanksgiving Day Parade, Christmas Day Parade,
Super Bowl.
I'm missing it.
I got your answer.
What's the answer?
And I'm not paid by them, so
Sling?
I have no reason. YouTube TV. We did Sling for a while, and you can't really DVR on
Did
that.
you want to look at the camera and say that?
Sure. YouTube TV has changed our lives. And like I said, I get nothing out of that, but I just think it's awesome.
How do you sign up for that?
It's like $50 a month, and you just go to youtube.tv, I think. Or there's an app for it on your phone.
You can get all live
all your
stuff?
devices can link. Yeah, you get all your local network channels.
Wow.
So you get all that stuff. You Super Bowl and your live events, Grammys, all that stuff.
Okay, so still right there, I'm only up to 110.
And you can DVR everything. Because when we did that, we actually got rid of Hulu because it's a lot of the same shows. You can just DVR them live. Yeah. So we lost Hulu at that point. So what do? YouTube TV. We do. We don't do the HBO thing. And then we just do like the music stuff that we do.
So much great stuff on HBO. I mean,
and Amazon Prime, we do that.
You got to have Amazon Prime. Yeah, the only reason I have Hulu is because I'm a fan of Pam Adlon's show Better Things, and it was only on Hulu.
I bet it's on YouTube TV. What network does it come on? Do you remember?
It's on Hulu.
It's a Hulu exclusive.
Okay. Yeah. They get you. See, they get you.
They're all trying to get you with
what are you doing, Jim?
Content.
We did, I actually, for a stocking stuffer, I bought 3 months of Showtime for Courtney because she was watching Ray Donovan.
I love Ray Donovan. See, and I miss it. What's going on?
I don't know.
Our friend Scott's playing a role against.
That's true.
I got to, yeah.
Scott Catlin. I didn't get into the show because I don't like getting into shows like that because it takes me away from other things that are productive.
So what shows are you watching?
Dude, you know me. I watch Marvel movies over and over again. I really do.
Nerd alert.
It's pathetic.
I do. Love it.
I feel like that's all they make anymore that goes to like the big screen anymore.
How many Marvel movies are there, Jim?
Well, in that universe, there are 23.
Okay.
From Iron Man to Spider-Man.
And they all really great. And I was a huge Spidey fan growing up. So you're growing up, and take me back to Panama City.
Yeah.
So you're from there, and you have a family band.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
and
we did.
This is the Ocean Opry.
Yep.
In Panama City, and it went down. You guys had it for 27 years, 1978 to 2005.
Yeah.
Now, did you close it? Did your parents close it down when you said, I'm moving to Nashville? Or did it close down and you said, I'm moving to Nashville?
No, it went down. And they kept doing shows for another couple of years. It closing was more of a natural transition from my granddad getting older and just a lot of stuff going on. And the beach kind of changed as far as the clientele and people that came and how busy things were.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty natural transition as far as it closing that really had nothing to do with my timeline directly, you know. But yeah, we did like 200 shows a year with our family. growing up there.
I mean, what a great learning experience. So you started with the drums at age 2, and then you picked up the bass and the guitar and the piano, and now you play mando, banjo, bazouki, accordion. What the hell is a bazooki? I should know this. I know what it is because you say, I'm going to take a bazooki pass. Doesn't it look like a crazy medieval lute or something?
It looks like a swelled up mandolin. Yeah. It's kind of a Greek instrument. It's not, there's a couple different ways to string it up, but I had string it up with octave strings on the 2 fatter strings. So it sounds kind of halfway between a mandolin and a 12-string acoustic.
So when we come to do recording sessions together, you always have like the same amount of cases that I have because you have so many instruments. So that's a good business model to, you play guitar, but why stop there? Do you play slide?
I do a little bit, yeah.
Because there's a lot of people, guitar players that I know in my life that are like, that is such a specialty.
Yeah. It's very...
Because the intonation.
And most of the slide stuff I just do as a regular electric. I don't do a lot of lap slide or lap steel stuff. I can fake my way through it. And if somebody's like sending me files to do at the house and I have a little more time to dive into the part than I can, but there are other guys in town that do that way better than I.
So who else we've had on the show? We had Adam Schoenfeld on the show with his lovely wife Katie Cook, and we've also we just had Lindsay Al on. So I said, I'm not a gear guy, but I know that if there's guitar players listening, they want to know the rig rundown.
Yes.
What are you doing live with Keith?
With Keith live, I'm actually using fractals these days.
That's what she said she was using.
All in the box. It's all in there, and
it connects to your laptop.
It does, yeah. If you want to edit, you can do all the editing with the laptop. You don't
need the laptop on stage.
You don't need the laptop for the performances, but man, I honestly didn't want to love it when I first tried it because I was like, I don't know, I need real tubes and vintage and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, right.
But then I tried it and I was like, this thing sounds amazing. And for me, what was a big selling point on it was the editing capabilities when you do hook up to a laptop. And I use I've got 3 expression pedals on my board basically. One is I kind of leave set up as a volume all the time. I'm a volume pedal guy. But the other 2, you can set literally any parameter in your rig to either one of those expression pedals, and you can put multiple things on there. So you can go from the heel position on one. This is totally getting real nerdy here.
Go deep.
But you can go from like a kind of dirty downstroke 8s, very dry type part or whatever, and then on the bridge, if you need to add some delays and reverbs and clean the sound up. Any of those parameters you can change and make it a completely different sound, completely different amp,
planning.
But just a lot of programming and planning on the floor. And thankfully with Keith, we have a lot of time at our sound checks and rehearsals, and I can go into the deep end of the pool.
I'd love
programming all that stuff. But then once you get into a live performance, you can do so much with just a couple of stomps or moving your feet and change your sound completely from one part of the song to the next.
That's very powerful. We're doing that with drumming too, but having like an SPDSX pad and having triggers and MIDI foot pedals and all that kind of stuff. It's all here, but the pre-planning.
I actually have an SPDX.
It's powerful.
It's amazing.
I think it's one of the greatest inventions in the percussion industry in the last decade.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It really is.
You're still just banging on
stuff.
To
the layman, what does all that mean?
So the Roland SPDSX is basically a trigger pad. So it's like a plastic soft mesh pad with 12 surfaces.
It's about as big as this.
It's about as big as that. It goes on a snare stand or on a cymbal stand. You can load your own samples in. It has built-in sounds. You can modify the sounds. If you want to have Michael Jackson going, boom, you sample it, you put it on the pad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you could trigger MIDI.
It's kind of like your
information.
So you hit the if you want to hit the snare drum and
yeah,
exactly.
That sounds like a Saturday night to me.
There's a few songs in Keith's show that have like really gacked up processed banjo things, for example, that I just, when we were doing that song live, I loaded it on there. So I can keep playing electric or whatever, or come over here and just hit that, and it has this, super gacked
with your
up
finger
sound. Yeah, or just grab a drumstick and hit it with that.
That is cool, and that's fun. That's really cool.
It's fun.
And so, and then your drummer Seth, who I got to have on the show, and who I've known, probably 13, 14 years. But he's not a man about town. Like I never see him about town. Yeah. Like he's like
a bit of a mystery.
He's a recluse.
He is.
He's a family man.
Yes, they have 6 children. 6 kiddos. Yeah.
So pretty much every time that man is in the bed, it's happening. He's having a child.
I don't think they figured out what's causing it yet.
That's a lot of financial responsibility. But at least he'll have somebody to take care of him when he has bed sores.
Yeah, one would hope.
Yeah.
You would
There's
think.
a pretty good chance of at least one of them coming through.
Right. Exactly. It's probably
Jim,
going to be one of the girls.
Is that you being slightly dark on not?
Well, it's sometimes we have 3 kids, and you're probably gonna have the one.
Which is the one that's going to take care of you?
I think it's going to be. You will probably have Hallie and Cammie.
I hope they're not listening.
Because
Spencer's
typically, Spencer, because
he's a dude.
He's a dude, and also whenever he gets married, he'll probably just fall into that family because it's always the girl's family that gets the most love. So,
All right.
Dang.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole other story.
It is a whole other story. It's a whole other second podcast for you to.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, let's put that out there. That sounds like fun.
Well, Danny, this is a great segue into talking about our sponsor, the School of Rock, because you're a product of music education. You're a product of hands-on training with your family. What a great environment to grow as a musician. You taking up the drums at age 2, and I've done recording sessions with you, and it's like your sense of timing and rhythm is just like epic. It's like you play your instrument like an old man with like 40 years of experience, but you're nowhere
as a
near 40. But our friends at the School of Rock, there's 250 locations around the world, and Angie and Kelly McCride, who I've known about a decade, they have 2 locations here in Nashville, School of Rock Franklin, School of Rock Nashville. So if your kids are interested, they've got restless type A energy, they want to do something, get them off the Fortnite, get them off the Xbox, get them into a productive situation, take them to talk to Angie and Kelly McCride. There's 2 locations. They can learn bass, they can learn drums, they can learn guitar, they can learn keyboards, and they do tons of performances, and their philosophy is very hands-on training. They don't teach music to play shows. They play shows to teach music. So it's very hands-on training. 2 email addresses for you: Franklin at schoolofrock.com and Nashville at schoolofrock.com, and tell them we sent you.
That's
all right. Yeah, man, that is a lot of hands-on stuff. I love the School of Rock. Now, you have a playlist that people can kind of check out on Apple Music. What is it called?
It's called On the Session. If you search On the Session and then my name, Danny Rader.
Which is really, really smart, because if anybody wants to hear anything you've been involved in or you're playing, they can go, so he's recorded with Luke Bryan, Dierks Bentley, Rascal Flatts, Keith Urban, bunch of slackers. Yeah. So this is one that we did together that was a #1 hit. It's called Drowns the Whiskey with Miranda and Jason. That's not it?
That's not it.
Oh, we'll get to that.
There it is.
Down in Lynchburg, Tennessee, been working hard for good old boys like me. I don't want to be the one to tell them that stuff that they've been selling ain't working like it should, but I damn sure wish it would. Whiskey's supposed to drown the memory. I've gone from one to one too many. And the thing that really gets me is how your memory drowns the whiskey. Maybe it's the bar.
Good song.
Nice. I mean, it's like a super, super traditional country song with like modern production. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like your drum training, it had to pay off the way you lock with a drummer and a click?
Oh yeah. One of the biggest things I listen to when I'm playing with different drummers every day is their right hand on the hi-hat, because so much is told through that, and how much swing they're putting into it, or when they do fills, where they're going to land when they come out of it. And that's such a big clue to me, and makes a big difference.
Now I'm sure you have.
There's actually, sorry to interrupt.
Oh no.
There's a few Aldean tracks that I love and that one, I tried to give like just a little more swing to the chorus than you were given, and to me that's one of the cool things that you can do with just like live music, playing with other musicians.
Because I don't think a lot of those records are gridded. I think we're
certainly not very heavily.
we're the last of the Mohegans
frontier. Yes,
yeah.
It's one of the last few that aren't just like immediately sent to an editor that just chops everything up and puts it right on a grid.
Which is really refreshing.
You've always been a good swinger.
Oh yeah, great movie too. Favreau.
Yeah.
Favreau, yeah.
Jon Favreau.
So I love that, and it's just always effortless, to play with you in the studio. And I'm sure if you work with every drummer in town, I'm sure you have your favorites.
Rich Redmond.
He has yet to play with Jim McCarthy.
Oh my God! Yeah, you have yet to play with Jim.
Yeah. Then he'll do it and then go, yeah, still Rich Redmond.
Still Rich. Now with Keith, what is it like working for an uber talented kind of creative? Seems like an encouraging cat that he wants his band to shine.
Oh yeah, it's such a blessing, and I learned very quickly that most artists with backup bands that are like kind of hired guns, there's a bit of a you kind of as a band guy get placed a little in the back, a little darker, and if you step out too much, you're gonna get called into the principal's office every now and then.
Yeah.
And Keith is the exact opposite of that.
That's so cool.
It's amazing, and such a he. In some ways, he has actually told us before. He's like, man, if I'm over here and I'm kind of playing to this part of the crowd, I need somebody over there to still keep that side engaged and
nice.
Be partying with them, and in the same way, like he is such a consummate performer himself, and comes out of that Bruce Springsteen type energy on stage that if one of us does seem like we're getting a bunch of energy, he's just going to up the ante, and there's no question at the end of the night whose picture it is all over the trucks. There's no way any one of us could ever outdo him.
Now,
he just loves it, just to raise the energy and make the whole thing more.
Who are the current guys? Because I know that it's, I remember we opened up at the American Airlines Center in Dallas one year. I think it could have been like 2008 or something like that. And Mikey Fry was in your position. We had so many guys in that position over the years. What's the band now?
With Keith, it is Jerry Flowers on bass, and he's the musical director.
He's a lifer.
He's amazing. And then Seth Rouse on drums.
Seth.
Myself, and then Nate Barlow is doing.
Okay.
Some might know him from his band days in either Luna Halo or Five Knives. He really had very little experience with country music at all coming into this, like none.
So how did they cross
Which
paths?
was kind of the beauty of what Keith wanted him to bring to the table, because he's a great programmer, awesome background singer. So between me, Jerry, and him, we got plenty of vocals going on. And he built this wacky rig that he calls the Phantom. That is, the first incarnation was basically 4 iPads, but now it's just one giant screen that's kind of subdivided with buttons, and he basically uses it as a MIDI trigger for samples that he's loaded into Ableton. So he's got his own Ableton rig over there, super gacked up sounds from the record or stuff that he creates and puts on the fly.
Visual,
and it kind of tilts forward towards the crowd, so the buttons light up when he hits it.
That's great.
It looks super badass and is really, really fun. And
dude, I love that.
Awesome. So it's the 4 of us and Keith.
Nice. Well, I got the backup Keith in 2009 and then 2017 on television, and I swear it's like one of those things every year where it's like when we're at the award shows, our entire industry is there, and he'll always be like, give me the nod.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if he knows my name, but he remembers. That's that drummer.
Oh, I think he knows your name.
That's that crazy drummer.
How could you not know?
Well, it's just nice. It's
You've
just
seen
nice.
it on too many post office walls, right?
On milk cartons.
Milk cartons.
Almond milk and coconut milk.
He bought drumming in the modern world, man.
That'd be crazy. So now, Danny, over the years, you've become more active in the union.
Yes.
Hashtag Band Together.
Yeah.
Tell us about Band Together, and you even got some press here in the local press here.
Yeah.
I saw the video last night.
So the Band Together movement is really just where the AFM, which is the American Federation of Musicians, is in the process of constantly renegotiating contracts with major record labels, TV and movie production houses, and all of the above. So every few years we have to go in and negotiate new contracts with those. And one of the frontiers that is still kind of eluding musicians in particular is residuals for movie and television streaming services. So, as TV shows, whether it be Jimmy Fallon or even pre-recorded things or movies that it's more of a pre-recorded score, when those go to a service like Hulu or YouTube or any of the other Netflixes or any of those, musicians get zero streaming income from those, whereas directors, writers, singers, actors all do.
This is horrible.
So we are fighting really, really hard to try to make it more equitable.
So some of these, what they're calling big media companies, they say they don't recognize backing musicians as talent.
That's exactly right.
So talent is the actor, the writer, producer.
Even though you might be in a band with 2 background singers and 4 musicians, and the singers, you're playing and singing at the same time. You're performing together. The singers are going to get back in, but the players are not.
Well, the singers are in AFTRA.
Yes,
right?
They would be in SAG-AFTRA.
Okay, so they're in SAG-AFTRA, and we have our AFM, which is kind of working more closely with SAG-AFTRA because we get our special payment fund thing every year now, which is nice.
Yeah.
Because it could have been a couple years back. I think it was 2016. I finally got all sorts of payment from radio play from all the Aldean records we played on, and I can't imagine I think you've done more records than me for sure, and I can't imagine what your check was. But I had drums and percussion, which was nice. And so like Kurt and Tully were like, yeah, but you get the percussion too, man. So your check is bigger. But I needed the check to be bigger because I needed that money to go through my divorce in 2016.
Let's talk about that.
Let's get into more of that.
That's juicy. But so what do you think the progress is going to be like? I mean, what do we have to do to knock down these barriers? So say there's a band, right? There's a band in a feature film, and it's background musicians, but they're miming, so they're not really musicians at that point. They're actors,
right?
And so the actors that aren't even playing the musical instrument are actually going to get paid on the streaming, but the guys who actually paid on the track are not.
That is correct.
That is horrendous.
It is, isn't it?
Bullshit.
Yeah, it's awful.
So we got guys like,
how does that make you feel?
David Pomeroy and Ray Hare in Dallas. Well, Ray Hare's the president.
Yeah.
But I remember Ray Hare because when I was in the Union in Dallas, he would get me gigs at the airport like, hey, Rich, man, I need somebody to go down and play reggae music at
Gate B.
At Gate B for $60. And I would go do it.
Like,
And now he's the president.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right. Yeah.
Does that make you happy?
It's definitely going to be an uphill battle for sure, but we just finalized a deal with the film and pre-recorded television type stuff, and we pretty much got everything that was on our list of demands and hopes, except for the streaming. They finally agreed to give us credits on movies and long form television shows at the end of the shows, which is huge because that was kind of always one sticking point because they didn't want to give us credit at the end of the screen when the credits were rolling, because then they would have to acknowledge that we're creative contributors to the film or the production. And so if they could hold off on that, then they can still hold to the line that, well, they're not really creatives because they're not credited at the end of the movie, even though like craft services is credited at the end of the movie. Yeah,
you got the guy who's laying out the Snickers bars, getting credit over the
musicians
person
have not been able to, but we will now.
Okay, so
we finally got.
So say there's an orchestra, so like a Hollywood orchestra with like 120 members.
Yeah.
Instead of saying Hollywood Orchestra, they're going to say Hollywood Orchestra and then cellos, violins, violas, double bass, French horns.
They're going to list the musicians by name.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's a credit nightmare. Putting that at the end of a movie.
So what were the other demands that we got?
Let's see. What else did we get? So up until now, with Netflix, for example, or any of those online exclusive original productions, there was a clause in there that required them to get 24 episodes in before they had to pay full rate. It was like a discounted beginner rate up until then. And if it's a show that has 8 episodes in a season,
you get paid.
You're getting like 4 seasons in before anybody's actually making decent money on it. And how many shows go that far in? It's not that many, so it's, and the more stuff that is like heading towards that direction, like we were talking earlier, all of them have these shows that they're making as exclusive content to their streaming platform now. So the more things tip that direction, it's basically, without even having to say it out loud, a pay cut.
Yeah.
Every time a show goes more in that direction, it's more of a pay cut for musicians.
And there are so many shows that you get hooked on the halfway through the first season. Say it's 8 episodes, maybe say it's even 13 episodes, and they know that they're only going to do 2 seasons.
Right.
Well ahead of time. They're not even going to wait for the response. They know they're just like, we're going to do 2 seasons. That's it. That's the story arc. So it's an interesting time in the fact that it's a great time to be an actor. There's more work than ever. And it's a bad time to be a musician.
Yeah.
Unless we get some of these changes.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
The funny thing about being in radio as long as I have, for a spell there, the industry was trying to come after radio to get a little bit more money out of radio. And I'm like, where are you going to get it from? They can barely pay the talent that's in radio anymore.
Really?
You're going after you can't get blood from a turnip kind of situation.
So the ad revenue from a traditional, say, classic rock station is barely covering the station bills and talent?
Think about it. I mean, at the time, when I got into radio, it was about 96, 97. That was about the time that they signed the Communications Act. They started treating radio stations more like real estate properties. They would take guys like what I did and give you, okay, we're going to give you 4 more hats to wear in the radio station. Oh, great. That means, no, we're not paying you more. And that was just the reality of it. But I was getting into it, so I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And at one point, there was a big push and charge from some of the local artists, big names, and they wanted to start going after radio, to start paying licensing hikes towards, I think, the musicians that were involved in the recordings. And it's like, you know what? You're the artist. You take some of your money and you share it. You know what I mean? We're sitting there and I was working for a station that chose its own music.
Well, no,
one of the artists, I was like, you know what? Pull our music off the air.
In foreign countries like England, if you play on a Dido record, and there's several number ones and it sells, the musicians
get paid for that.
Why is that not like that in the United States?
The only other countries that don't pay musicians, like comparable to the U.S., are countries like Iraq, North Korea.
And the United States.
There's 4 other countries like Iraq, North Korea, Afghanistan, and maybe Iran, I think.
And we're right in there.
And we're right in there with them because
with some of the greatest musicians in the world.
Yeah.
For whatever.
Every other country in Europe, they all will pay musicians and artists.
I just found it funny that the artist, the star, was leading the charge on that. And it's like, dude, you pay them out of your own pocket for crying out loud. What are you coming after us? We're the ones that bring your music to the world.
I think the biggest reason the artist would have been stepping forward on that is because if guys like Rich and I try to make our case, nobody knows who we are on a grand scale.
But they know who Sheryl Crow is.
Or they know who Keith Urban is. So if one of them artists at that level step out and make a statement to support and kind of stand in solidarity with the other
I understand what they're trying to do, but it's like, we're tapped.
Are they though? Is iHeart tapped?
iHeart tapped? They just called 1,200 people. They just fired 10% of their staff on air and programming.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a talent brain drain that's been happening for the past 2 decades. Why do you think I got out?
Yeah, but iHeart is a big media company.
Oh, it is. But they're trying to compete with Google and Siri. You know what I mean? And Alexa.
I don't know. I don't know all the numbers, but the skeptic within me wonders if the layoffs are so they can have people do 2 or 3 jobs and still have their same bottom end at the end.
It's business by expense reduction.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Danny, I got this amazing playlist here that I gleaned from your other playlist, which is
On the Session
on Apple
Rader.
Music. Are you an Apple Music guy? Because I'm a Spotify guy.
I'm an Apple Music guy. We used to do
a Spotify list too.
I probably could. Yeah.
Well, this is now. If you had to choose, is there something stylistically unique that you would want to highlight here? Because I've got Luke Bryan, "What Makes You Country," "Somewhere on a Beach," Dierks Bentley, "Yours If You Want," Rascal Flatts, "For You," Keith Urban, "Cry Pretty," Carrie Underwood, "Dirt on My Boots," John Party, "American Kids," Kenny Chesney.
Ooh, let's do "Somewhere on a Beach."
Oh yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Here we go.
Actually, I cut this at my house in comfy pants.
They sent you your files?
Yeah.
Dirk sent you the files?
Yeah.
Who produces Dirk's records?
Ross Copperman did this one.
Ah, nice. Good for you, Ross.
Bet you think I'm sitting at home? No. Bet you think that I'm all alone? No. Bet you think I'm missing you and wishing you would call my phone? Hell no. I went wheels up on a runway, and that ticket was a one-way. I'm somewhere on a beach, sipping something strong. Got a new girl, she got it going on. We drink all day and party all night. I'm way too gone to have you on my mind. She got a body, and she's naughty, and she got me like you ain't ever got me. I'm getting some, and I ain't slept in a week. Yeah, I'm somewhere on the beach.
Woo!
Kind of funny, the opening lyric, I bet you think I'm at home. And you were at home.
I actually was at home.
So you're all set up to do tracks at your place.
I am.
Like everyone.
Yeah. I've got a great setup and a good ISO booth, so I can do overdubs on pretty much anything that needs. Really, tracking's the only thing that I don't do there.
Are you finding that there's a reduction in the amount of sessions that are happening in real time on the Row or in Berry Hill? I mean, you're playing on big records.
Maybe a slight reduction, but I still probably 2/3 of the work I do is tracking dates at actual studios.
What are your favorite rooms in town?
Oh, great question. Blackbird, it sounds amazing. Great vibe.
Great coffee makers. Great mics.
Southern Ground is the food over there is amazing.
Never done it. He has a chef
so
there,
good.
right?
Yeah, she's there every day, and it's always so good.
I do.
You get like halfway into the second song in the first session, you start smelling lunch cooking downstairs. It's so good. I love the Castle. I'm down in Franklin.
With all the
little
bodies in the lawn.
Yeah.
Al Capone. So for people that don't know, the Castle is this legendary recording studio and kind of like outskirts of suburban Franklin. And supposedly it was Al Capone's hideout back in the day.
That's right. That's the story.
And it's slightly haunted.
Yeah, probably is.
We recorded Are You Gonna Kiss Me or Not there in 2011. And I swear things were happening at night that I did not like.
Like what?
Oh, just things that go bump in the night, and you could feel your arms, your hair on your arms.
You get the cold chills.
Yes.
Have you ever gone down into where they keep the guitar cabs, the ISO room downstairs?
I have not.
You got to go down it's this dark, like really narrow staircase you get down.
Can you say spiderwebs? The tenants here at Casa Redmond, they say that this it's haunted. And I was like, really? I'm like, I don't know. I don't think so.
What are some of the things they say?
They say it. They all agree. But
well, you've lived here for many years.
I left, man. I left all the bad energy behind, man. I let them have it.
Well, considering what she did, maybe. That was not ouch.
No, it was just professional. It was
being a medium.
It was a professional career.
But maybe I don't know. She brought it in.
So where else, bud? Because I'm always at Sound Emporium. Soundstage,
great.
Black
Soundstage.
River, Omni. Mm-hmm. Those are
Starstruck is good. Starstruck's really
nice.
good. Got some great records over there. There's not that many. Tracking Room is great.
And our friends at Treasure Isle.
Yeah,
it's got so much character.
And you know what? They have really updated the headphone box situation over at Treasure Isle these days, which makes a big difference.
It's still hard to hear your own instrument.
It can be.
Yeah.
The way they have to feed.
Can you turn up the drums?
The way they have to feed the 2-mix over there is a little quirky because it has to come off the faders instead of a separate send.
We had Pete and Richard over here, and it was like frick and frack.
Oh, here?
Yeah, Pete Coleman and Richard Dodd.
Oh my gosh.
And they're both from the same small town in the UK, and they grew up together, and they came across the pond together.
Oh, I bet that was a trip.
And they have lunch. They're so cute. They have lunch together every Saturday.
Check out that episode.
I just picture them playing chess too. Like I just have that visual of like them sitting in a park and just playing chess with each other.
They're so proper. I mean, Pete got divorced recently. He's got a hot new girlfriend. He's loving life.
He's a fun. I like Peter.
He's a funny guy. So what are some anything that what else you got here? Some Kenny Chesney. See one that seems kind of unique.
Yeah.
What instrument did you play on that?
American Kid. So I played acoustic, bazouki, and banjo on this song, and the hook that comes in the main intro of the song was kind of a random tucked background vocal part on the demo that we heard, and as soon as it finally came in, then I was like, oh, that's our hook, man. We got to play that. So I played that on a banjo earlier in the song, and it kind of became a pretty signature thing.
Now was that Buddy Cannon?
That was Buddy Cannon producing. Okay,
and because we just had
we cut this at Blackbird D.
Oh yeah, and we just had Sean Silva in here, who's got a relationship that goes way back with all of us. But of course,
our kids went to preschool with their kids.
Yeah, Nashville is just such a small town. Give us a blow by blow on the sections of the song here.
Chad Cromwell on drums and loops.
Nice.
Yeah.
Double wide quick stop, midnight T-top, Jack in her cherry coke town. Mama and Daddy put their roots right here, 'cause this is where the car broke down.
One of the few banjo solos these days. Actually has a banjo solo later on in this.
That's you?
MTV on the RCA, no AC in the vents. We were Jesus save me, blue jean baby, born in the USA. Trailer park truck stop, faded little map dots, New York to LA. We were teenage dreaming, front seat leaning, baby come give me a kiss. Put me on the cover of the Rolling Stone, uptown, down home, American kids. Rolling up in little pink houses, making out on living room couches, blowing that smoke on Saturday night. A little messed up, but we're all alright. Baptist church parking lot.
Read that.
Okay, now where's the solo?
Yeah, skip on to the next chorus.
USA. Trailer park truck stop, faded little map dots, New York to LA. We were teenage dreaming.
And this wasn't really talked about. I just kind of went for it on the fly too.
Did you?
Yeah.
Put me on the cover of the Rolling Stone, uptown, down home, American kids. Growing up in little pink houses, making out on living room couches, blowing that smoke on Saturday night. A little messed up, but we're all alright. We were Jesus.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that was just improvised.
Yeah, I just kind of went for it on the fly. I might have punched it a second time just to clean up a couple things, but
They were not expecting that.
I don't think so.
You just went ahead
I
and
don't
went
think
for it.
so.
Talk about confidence.
And they're like, banjo, sure, let's have it.
you bring moxie when you bring that kind of confidence in a studio, I think, right?
Especially when you're playing banjo.
Danny knows how to read the room and provide what he needs to bring to the table.
That to me is like the number one job of a session player is just kind of knowing your role and knowing what you should bring to the table on any given song and not being scared to not play for 8 bars. You know, like there's so many guys that just like play all the time just to justify their presence in the room. And if the song doesn't need it, then don't overplay. Don't keep adding stacks.
That's strong. So obviously you're getting called a lot for acoustic, mandolin, banjo, all that kind of stuff. But you do electric sessions too.
I do.
Time, right?
Yeah. It kind of depends on the producer and who else they want to have involved. But there's a lot of guys that'll just kind of always want me to bring all my stuff, and we might do half the day with 2 electrics, and I'll be on electric, or some days a lot of the stuff where people send me files, like the Dirks thing. I've got a great relationship with Ross at this point where he just kind of sends me stuff, and he's like, man, just put whatever you feel like, just finish this thing out for me, and so it's a great opportunity for me to do electrics or acoustics, or occasionally I'll bang on something and kind of spice up the loops or backbeats or something, whatever. It just kind of feels like it's going to elevate it to hit status.
And for those that don't know the life of a session player, back in the day, you could be a full-time session player or you were a full-time road player. You, like myself, you do both. You've made it a business model to do both. Now, with that territory goes the chance that you will miss some calls sometimes, because Ross Copperman has called me several times to do things while I was on the road. And I saw on your resume there was that you played on the cast albums for the Nashville television show.
Yeah.
I got called for some of that, was on the road, couldn't do it. But you say to yourself, I've got a steady job where I get a paycheck every 2 weeks. So the good comes with the bad.
It does. Yeah, it totally does. And that's probably one of the tougher things to kind of juggle and just keep your confidence in that,
the phone will continue.
They're going to keep calling. They're going to circle back around.
Yeah.
And, there's been guys that I was working with all the time for a while, and then I had to miss a couple things, and then they kind of start using somebody else for a couple of years, but they that person may have to do the same thing at some point, so they call you again, and you kind of get back in the fold.
I don't think I've ever seen Keith in concert. I saw him at the Opry. I'd like to see him.
Oh yeah.
How many dates is he doing these days?
This year we're looking at probably 50 shows.
50.
Last year and this year were a little bit of an off year. He's working on a record right now, so he's spending a lot of time in the studio, and we're actually doing about 19 or 20, I think, total dates in Vegas this year at the Coliseum at Caesars. They're calling it a residency, but most of them are, like we'll go in and do 2 shows and then come back home. So,
and then going to like cool events like the Oscars and the SAG Awards all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Golden Globes. That's gotta be fun.
Yeah.
What do you like to do in Vegas?
What do I like to do in Vegas?
You're not a gambler.
I'm going to be honest. Vegas is not one of my favorite towns.
Why's that? I lived there for 4 years.
I don't. Well, mostly because when we're there, we're stuck in a casino,
Right.
And I don't love that vibe too much.
Yeah.
Especially when you have to have coffee delivered to you in the morning, and it's incredibly expensive because there's no coffee maker in the MGM or anything.
Right.
And they force you to walk through the casino.
Yeah, to go to the Starbucks.
They want
But I
you
mean,
to.
you're going to have a couple of days to spend out there now, right?
Right.
So,
You know,
I mean-
I actually have started, especially when we're out there, because man, you can easily spend $100 a day on food, not even trying to like go all out, you know.
Right.
So what I'm totally. I've gotten to the point where I'll take like my own K-cups out there with me, keep those in the room, take some like oatmeal packets, and I pack a electronic water kettle.
Nice.
So
Protein
just try to
bars,
stay
nuts.
protein bars. Yeah.
Do you guys
All
rent
the
a car
above,
and
yeah.
go out to Red Rocks at all?
I haven't yet. I haven't yet.
You don't do that, huh? No. You were there for 3 days.
There's not that much time.
That's true.
Yeah, but you had 3 days. I mean, you got a show at night. You got all day to kind of kill your time. I mean, you know, you're
Yeah,
always.
there's sound check at like 2 or 3, depending on what it is. You got to work
Oh,
out.
that's right.
You know, you don't have
You still got to do sound check even though you're set up at the same place.
Talk to Tully.
Tully,
Remember how much he
He's a
loves
slave
those
driver.
sound checks.
He loves those checks.
He loves those. He likes to slap at the best.
No, next time we have them on, let's make sure we talk about it.
Oh, we definitely have to talk about it. But we got to take a break. Be right back.
The Rich Redmond Show. We'll be right back.
Well, our big tagline has been inspiring kids to rock on stage and in life. We changed it actually to inspiring the world to rock on stage and in life, because when kids are here, they learn so much more than music. They learn how to be on a team. They learn responsibility. They learn to take responsibility for their actions. They learn to organize their time. And we try to teach them, you know, not to be that person that nobody wants to be on a tour bus with.
Connect with School of Rock today. Search School of Rock Franklin or Nashville. This is the Rich Redmond Show.
Now, Danny, you were talking about loading up a suitcase with some good stuff here when
Yeah.
you're in Vegas, you're on the road. You know, I know that you're 3 or 4 nice squares a day with Keith Urban. So you're busy. You're traveling the world with Keith. You do some international touring, obviously.
Yep.
And then you're doing all this session stuff on Music Row. You're doing the stuff at your home studio. You're a dad.
Yeah.
You're a husband. What's a typical day for you? Like, cause I know you like to produce and I know like you do the songwriting thing. So if you're not on the road and you're not being paid to be in a recording studio, what's your day like? Do you take a day off to be dad, or what do you do?
There's always something going on.
Right.
You know, typically I'll get up about 7, get the kids out the door to school, get them on the bus.
Nice.
Make some school lunches, make breakfast. That's always good.
How old are your kids?
They're 10, 7, and almost 3.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, about the same space.
3 boys. 3 boys. So it's craziness.
You did it
Absolute
all at the
insanity.
right time in your life. You did it as a young man, but not too young.
Right. Thankfully, I have a little more of my head on straight at this point than I did 10 years ago or so.
But somehow, you know, they if they run with scissors, they're fine. You don't drop them on their head.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you did,
Yeah, especially after the first one, you realize what stuff to be worried about very quickly, and like stuff that you were like, no, don't do it. You freaking out about with the first one. Second and third, you're like, he'll be fine. He's all right.
Yeah.
I always remember Jim Brewer talking about, he's like, your only job in the beginning is just to keep them from killing themselves.
Yeah, exactly. It's like having a goldfish on stun. You know?
What are those fish that they would kill the goldfish? The betas,
Yeah, beta fish.
Oh, yeah, right,
Fighting
right,
fish. Yeah.
beautiful things.
I used to actually keep one in Gen Pop in my fish tank.
Gin pop.
Oh yeah.
Just
Yeah.
the.
I didn't know there was
to
like.
keep everybody on their toes.
I didn't know there was fish tank slang.
That's horrible, buddy.
The other fish were they were bigger than the instigator, but you'd see him flare up his fins every now.
Oh,
and then.
yeah.
Because I mean the other thing you have is putting it in that little tiny bowl that you take it home with.
Poor thing.
Right.
It's like it's isolated.
It's
I just put it in Gen Pop.
It's horrible. So Danny, you're writing songs left and right, and this was a something to celebrate. There's an artist, EDM artist, DJ named Robin Schultz,
Yes.
and he has a record called Uncovered, and the song is called Hallelujah.
Yes.
It's phonetic.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, and check this out, man. Wouldn't expect this from you.
I know, right?
And it became a theme song?
It became for a Nivea campaign.
I call your name.
All over Europe.
Feel everything with you. Don't fear the night, just feel alive. When I hold you tight, my heart was slowing. 1 foot up in heaven, boy, you bring me back to life. Got me saying hallelujah, hallelujah. Got me saying hallelujah, hallelujah. With you, I feel the fight. I don't know why I'd ever cry with you. I gave it all, too free to fall. Every time you call, love I need, just like breathing. Boy, you bring me back to life. Got me saying hallelujah, hallelujah. Got me saying hallelujah.
How long did it take you to write that sucker?
Yeah. I think we wrote that in about 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I had Cole Ford and he's like, I wrote Dear Road Anthem in 30 minutes. I'm like, damn, that was like well spent 30 minutes.
I don't know how some people can write songs like that. No.
Someone just come together.
We had a bulk of it together. We went and grabbed some lunch, came back and tweaked a few things, and it actually came together pretty quickly. We wrote that in my studio.
Yes.
This is where we wrote that.
Rumor has it that John Bon Jovi wrote Blaze of Glory. Blaze of Glory?
Yeah.
In on a diner napkin in about 10 minutes.
Will Ferrell's Blades of Glory.
Yes.
Blaze of
very
Glory.
different.
Yeah.
Very different.
Isn't that incredible?
That's
I mean,
incredible.
A hit song. It's
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like that. And so if it becomes a Nivea campaign in all of Europe, which actually pays their people, that was either a college fund for your kids or a brand new Mercedes.
It wasn't a Mercedes, but it was. But
knowing
actually, I think that was, if I'm honest, that was a bathroom renovation.
Nice.
That was,
and you finally replaced your Honda Element, right?
I did.
We were
the
both-
Element finally died.
We were both Element and friends.
Oh, I love that car.
Yeah.
I loved that car.
So did it die? Because it's Japanese. It goes forever.
It finally got to the point where what I would have to put into it was just more than
What year
I
was
wanted
that?
to deal
What
with.
year was the?
Mine was a 2004.
Mine first one too.
a
Hicktown
2004.
came out. We went on tour. I qualified for the loan. And I got myself a $22,000 car, and I was so proud. It was Darth Vader black. Oh, I loved it.
And it's such a great gear vehicle too. The way that the back seats flip down, you can like pack stuff in.
Did you see my
tightly
little
or
red
whatever.
thing out there?
I know. I saw that. You're not getting many drums in that thing.
Fits nothing.
It's a roller skate. It's a shoe. I can't believe someone persuaded you to buy that.
I know.
Jim.
What's your flavor these days?
Car wise, I did stay in the Honda family. I drive a CRV now.
Nice.
Yeah,
Curvy.
It's great. It's great. But I did go for one of the. I get so nerdy on that kind of stuff because I buy something that's kind of newish and then just drive it into the ground.
Smart.
And then but I wanted something with like all the technology bells and whistles this time around with the CarPlay and the lane keep assist and adaptive cruise.
control.
Oh, that's changed my life, man.
Oh gosh.
I just said it when I get on
cruise
the road
control.
into town.
Any idea
and-
what that is?
I don't think I've ever used cruise control. I'm
Best
too much
thing
of a
ever.
control freak.
If you're on a long trip, you just let the car control the speed.
Wow.
Car gets in front of you, it sees it in spaces.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Now, Jim, didn't you have we were talking about websites?
Random question of the week.
Somebody that's as popular and is booked all the time as Danny is established. His reputation is firmly established. He just is on Instagram and Twitter as Rader.
Yes. And it's RADERATOR.
Yeah, so send him your angry tweets and things, and I'm sure he'll respond
right.
in between bazooki
He said
passes.
that if you DM him, he said he will respond each and every time.
Absolutely, I will.
So, Jim, didn't you have an idea for a new offering in our podcast today?
Yeah, I did.
I'm going to let you run with it.
I think we're going to try it out on Danny.
Okay.
And I think we should just call it the random question of the show.
It's the random question of the day.
I have 3 questions written down.
There you go.
None of these questions, he has no idea what they are.
No clue.
Okay.
Got that, people?
Okay.
Ready?
I'm kind of scared, but let's do it.
Flat Earth theory, real or fake?
Completely fake. Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
There you go.
I'm not ashamed to say that. Those people are completely nutty. Have you seen a documentary called Behind the Curve?
Yes, that's how this
Oh
whole
my
thing was
gosh.
started.
Talk about that.
I watched that on a flight maybe a month ago or a couple of weeks.
I've seen it.
I can't even.
There's only one way to
science,
disprove it.
people. Come on.
Just get high enough and take
Come
a freaking
on.
picture. Yeah.
No.
Why,
that is unapologetically crazy.
I will say that if you look at, have you ever looked
even
into
even my 10-year-old is like, what? That doesn't make any sense,
Flat
Dad.
Earth.
flat Earth? People believe that the Earth is flat,
Okay.
like Asgard.
Yeah.
What is? I mean, if you ever look into the actual evidence of it, it's quite compelling, though.
I don't
Not
think
that it makes me a
compelling at all.
believer.
I don't think it's compelling at all.
So you've looked into it.
I mean, I've watched the movie and
Right.
looked at some websites as far as what they think, and it's just there's no scientific grounding for anything that they claim.
The ending of the movie was interesting, though.
I did like where they went with that. Yeah. They
At the
kind of
end-
basically asked, "What are you a flat earther about?"
Well, it was basically they put a laser beam up on a beach so they get water level, right? So then they put it like a post or 2 posts a mile from each other. So the theory is that if you fire a laser beam towards the other post and it's got the same kind of trajectory and stuff, that if the Earth is flat, it should hit the same height of the post.
It'll go
right?
through, and they're all at the same height.
And it didn't.
It did not,
It hit higher than the
because
post because it's freaking curved.
yeah,
That causes the problems with the documentarian. We just had a documentary filmmaker in here, and we just had Sandy, who we were talking about this kind of stuff with. So we're just doing one of these questions.
Just one.
just doing one.
Oh, not bad.
Well, that was easy.
That is a
man.
sponsorable feature of the Rich Redmond Show. Should anybody decide to sponsor?
Well, you know what? So, Jim, besides that, we usually have a thing called "What Did You Learn?"
That's right. What did I learn? Okay, you take that.
Well, do you
I'm
know what I
looking-
learned? I learned that Danny came to town with a commitment to his craft, tens of thousands of hours of effort, and came and nurtured relationships immediately. He's always had a great attitude. His skills, he's always improving. He's hungry for. He's a crash course for success guy, like a
That's
textbook, man, like
That's right.
textbook. And so he moved to town right away, and he had all those things in place, and it just happened like gangbusters, man. So
and he's somewhat of a risk taker. I've learned that he's a risk taker because he went for the solo on the banjo in American Kids. That's what I learned.
and they kept it.
Oh, that's the kind of risk I take. It's true.
I love it, man. I love it. So, well, I just it was so cool to have you on here and kind of celebrate your victories because, it's
Back
been,
at
16 years.
It has.
And
Most people don't know that you and I were roommates on the road too.
We were definitely roommates on the road, and that's where I saw you. And you know what's really crazy is you reap what you sow, because back then you were digging on that Golden Road record. And
Yeah,
now
that's
you work
true.
with Keith Urban.
That's
so
true.
you definitely reap what you sow. If you the power of mental focus, and you manifested that thing.
Yeah.
Reinforce my impression of him. He just seems like just a really nice guy.
Of Keith?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, Nicole and
Yeah,
everybody, they're just very approachable with you guys, like a family.
Yeah, I mean,
a Garth Brooks type of situation.
Keith
I would
spent
imagine.
so much time with 2 other guys in a van, lugging their own stuff in and out of venues, driving
Ranch.
themselves, taking shifts, that he is so
He remembers.
rooted in that, and he knows what that's like. And he, honestly, whenever we do sound checks, he's the one that wants to work
play.
the longest and the hardest and
Yeah.
to play and just to jam. And
That's so admirable.
he absolutely is.
That first band was so cool. They named a sitcom after it, man. He had a band called The Ranch. It was a 3-piece band.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was kind of like forward-thinking, kind of progressive country.
Yeah, he always, and he said this before in interviews, but he early on loved organic, real instruments, very, very much into like Don Williams, old school country stuff, but he also loved a lot of rock stuff, and all the bands that he played with and, played around in Brisbane was where he spent most of his time as a kid in that age. He was too rock for the country bands that he played with, and he was too country for all the rock bands that he played with, because he wanted to play a Telecaster and do the chicken picking thing. And but he said it wasn't until he saw Mellencamp come through, and he had this thing where it was loud guitars and it was aggressive, but there was also fiddles and organic, natural instruments, and he was like, "Oh,
Heartland
that's how it can work,"
Well, those, two of my Desert Island records are Mellencamp's Lonesome Jubilee and Mellencamp's Scarecrow. Came out in 85, 86, 87, around that. And they were the drums so loud in the mix, heartland storytelling, earwig melodies, and then you have the accordion, you have the dulcimer, you have the fiddle in there with the rock instruments. It was like way ahead of its time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So it took 10 years for Nashville to catch up with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that crazy?
One thing that's super cool about all those Mellencamp records too, one of the guitar players was always, this is a little side note for you nerds, one of the guitar players was almost always tuned to an open tuning.
Yeah.
So you had one guy in standard tuning, one guy in open tuning. So when they played these chords, even though there's only 2 guitars going, they just sounded like a wall of guitar.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I did my Dina Carter audition, like in 1997, Mike Wanchik was there at the audition, and he was friends with Dina. So I was like, "Oh my God, you're the guy that played on all those records," and it's so crazy.
You know, but Courtney massaged her, Dina Carter.
Oh yeah, yes,
In Vegas.
She moved to Los Angeles. I'll have to visit her sometime out there. We probably live very close to each other. Well, Danny, I had an amazing time, man. Is there any parting thoughts?
Man, not really.
Look for you on the road this year.
It's a blast. Thanks for having me.
KeithUrban.com.
That's it.
You'll be there.
Yeah.
You like Australia? You probably know it like the back of your hand now.
No, I do know it pretty well at this point. I think I've been down there 14 times now. It's crazy.
It's amazing.
It's a long flight.
The desert is west.
I spent 3 days in Brisbane. I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
And I spent 18 hours in Sydney. I need a week there.
I love Sydney. Yeah, well, I've spent more time in Sydney than any other cities, but Sydney's great. Melbourne is awesome. Perth. I've been to Perth once, but we're going back again on this next tour, I think. It's awesome.
A lot of great whites.
Love it.
I love it, man. Well, thank you. Everyone, check out Danny Rader on Instagram and Twitter. He will get back to you. And if you're listening to country music radio, you're going to hear Danny on every dang song. I tell you what, it's a really special thing to see happen. And Jim, thank you for your time and talent.
You're welcome.
And School of Rock, thank you so much for sponsoring our show. Yes. We really appreciate it. Our email address, therichrredmondshow@gmail.com. Send us your questions. Send us your comments. We love praise. If it's praisey, we'll read it on the air.
If it's crazy, we'll read it on the air.
No one has sent us a letter yet.
Well, I mean, it'll get there. We just started asking for it.
I'll send you one tonight.
Totally. Guys, thanks so much for subscribing, sharing with your friends, rating and reviewing. Takes 1 minute. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Keep coming back for the good stuff.
This has been The Rich Redmond Show. Subscribe, rate, comment, and follow us at richredmond.com/listen.